Billionaire Buys Ring for Fiancée, finds ex working there with his son. The boy looked up first. That is the part Daniel Prescott will never forget. Not the gleaming jewelry cases, not the soft music drifting through hidden speakers, not even the woman behind the counter whose back was still turned. The boy, maybe 4 years old, dark curly hair falling across his forehead, tongue poking out in concentration as he stacked wooden blocks into a tower that leaned dangerously to the left. Daniel felt his chest tighten, something crawling up his spine that he could not name, a feeling like walking into a room and knowing you have forgotten something important, something that will cost you everything. Meredith squeezed his arm. Her diamond bracelet caught the light. "This place is adorable. I told you the reviews were right. Best custom jeweler in the city." Daniel made a sound that might have been agreement. He was still watching the boy, still trying to understand why his hands had gone cold. The woman behind the counter turned around. And the world stopped. Nadia. 7 years collapsed into nothing. 7 years of convincing himself he had made the right choice. 7 years of building a life that looked perfect from the outside and felt like wearing a suit that never quite fit. She looked different. Older, yes, but that was not it. She looked settled, confident in a way she had not been at 23 when she was all raw talent and nervous energy and a laugh that made him forget his own name. Her natural hair was pulled back now, silver earrings catching the light, her posture straight and sure. She was beautiful. She had always been beautiful. But now she looked like someone who knew exactly who she was and did not need anyone else to confirm it. Their eyes met. He watched the recognition hit her, watched her face cycle through shock, then something cold and hard, then a careful blankness that hurt worse than anger would have. "Welcome to Odora Designs." Her voice was steady, professional, like he was any other customer, like he had not spent 3 years of his life tangled up in her sheets, whispering promises he had broken. "How can I help you?" Meredith stepped forward, oblivious to the earthquake happening 3 feet away from her. "We are looking for an engagement ring, something unique. My friend Cynthia said you designed the most stunning piece for her anniversary, and I just had to come see for myself." Nadia's gaze flicked to Meredith, assessing, then back to Daniel. Her expression did not change, but he saw her jaw tighten, almost imperceptibly. "Congratulations. When is the wedding?" "We have not set a date yet." Meredith laughed, light and careless. "Daniel is so busy with work, I can barely get him to commit to dinner reservations, let alone a wedding venue. But I figured if I get the ring process started, everything else will fall into place." Daniel still had not spoken. His throat felt lined with sand. The boy looked up from his blocks. "Mama, my tower fell." "Mama." Daniel's heart lurched sideways. Nadia's expression softened instantly, warmth flooding her features in a way that made Daniel ache with something he could not name. "That is okay, baby. You can build it again. Make the bottom wider this time. Remember what I showed you." The boy nodded seriously and began reconstructing. Daniel watched him, something frantic building in his chest, a terrible math problem he could not stop solving. The boy looked 4, maybe 5. They had been together until Daniel was 26. That was 7 years ago. Nadia had been 2 months pregnant when she told him it was a false alarm, when she said she had gotten her period, when she said everything was fine. He remembered the relief he had felt, shameful and sharp. He remembered how quiet she had been for weeks afterward, how he had told himself she was just stressed about her gallery show. He remembered his mother's voice, cool and certain. "She is not right for you, Daniel. She will hold you back. You need someone who understands your world." He remembered believing her. "Sir," Nadia's voice cut through the roar in his head. "Did you have a particular style in mind?" He looked at her, really looked, searched her face for answers she clearly had no intention of giving. Nadia. Her name came out strangled, barely a whisper. Meredith's head swiveled. You two know each other. We used to. The same words she had probably said 100 times when old acquaintances wandered in. Dismissive, final, a long time ago. How funny. Meredith clapped her hands together. What a small world. Daniel, you never mentioned you knew the owner. I did not know she owned this place. Well, now you do. Nadia pulled out a portfolio, leather-bound and elegant. Let me show you some of my recent work. I specialize in pieces that tell a story. Each design is unique to the client. She was going to pretend. Going to act like the boy stacking blocks 10 feet away was not the answer to every question Daniel had been too afraid to ask. Is he? Let me show you this collection first. Nadia cut him off, her eyes flashing a warning. These are my most popular settings. The center stone can be customized to your preference. Meredith leaned over the portfolio, her fingers trailing across photographs, her voice rising with each new design. Oh, these are stunning, absolutely stunning. Daniel could not look away from Nadia's face. She flipped through pages with practiced efficiency, pointing out details, explaining craftsmanship, her voice never wavering. This one features a tension setting. The diamond appears to float between the bands, very modern, very striking. Meredith nodded eagerly, but Daniel saw Nadia's hands, the slight tremor she was trying to hide, the way her fingers lingered on certain pages like they held memories instead of photographs. We need to talk, he said it quietly, under his breath. We really do not. Nadia. I am with a client. Her smile was razor-sharp. If you would like to discuss anything else, you can schedule an appointment through my website. Meredith surfaced from the portfolio, her finger pressing against a page near the back. Oh, this one. Daniel, look at this. It is gorgeous. Daniel glanced down. The design featured an infinity pattern, two paths winding together and apart, meeting at a stone in the center. Something about it felt deeply personal, like looking at someone's diary. That one is not available. Nadia reached to turn the page. Why not? Meredith's voice took on an edge. It is exactly what I want. It is not for sale. I can create something similar, but that specific design is not available for commission. Everything has a price. Nadia's expression cooled another 10 degrees. Not everything. That is a lesson some people never learn. The words were aimed at Daniel. He felt them land like bullets. Meredith straightened, her cheeks flushing. I do not appreciate being spoken to like that. We came here because everyone said you were the best. My fiancé is Daniel Prescott, Prescott Investment Group. I am sure you have heard of them. I have heard of them. Then you understand we are serious clients. Whatever your personal history with Daniel, I expect to be treated with respect. Nadia closed the portfolio, the sound sharp in the quiet boutique. I apologize if I gave offense, but my answer remains the same. That design is not available. I would be happy to create something else for you, something equally beautiful, but not that one. The boy looked up again, sensitive to the tension in the room, his dark eyes moving between the adults like he was trying to solve a puzzle. Mama. It is okay, baby. Nadia softened her voice for him. We are just talking about grown-up things. Daniel stared at the child, the shape of his eyes, the stubborn set of his chin, the way he tilted his head when he was thinking. He had seen all of it in old photographs of himself. Meredith tugged at his sleeve. Daniel, let us go. There are plenty of other jewelers who would kill for our business. He did not move. Is he mine? The words came out before he could stop them, loud enough that Meredith heard, loud enough that the boy looked up, loud enough that something in Nadia's carefully composed face finally cracked. Silence. The kind of silence that has weight, That presses down on your chest and makes it hard to breathe. Meredith's grip on his arm loosened. What did you just say? Daniel could not answer her, could not look away from Nadia, from the fury and fear and something else warring in her expression. Get out, Nadia's voice was barely above a whisper. Get out of my store. Nadia, please, I need to know. You need to leave, right now, before I call the police. The boy stood up, his blocks forgotten, his small face creased with confusion. Mama, why are you upset? Nadia moved to him, scooped him up in her arms, pressed his face against her shoulder so he would not see her expression. I am not upset, baby. These people were just leaving. Meredith grabbed Daniel's arm, hard enough to hurt. We are going now. She pulled him toward the door. He let himself be moved, his legs working on autopilot while his mind screamed at him to stay, to demand answers, to make Nadia tell him the truth. At the threshold, he looked back. Nadia stood in the center of her boutique, the boy still in her arms, her eyes meeting his over the child's head. In them, he saw everything she would not say out loud. Yes. Yes, he is yours. Yes, I kept him. Yes, I raised him alone. And no, you do not get to be part of this. The door closed behind him. Meredith was already stalking toward the car, her heels clicking sharp against the sidewalk. What the hell was that? What did you mean, is he yours? Daniel stood frozen on the sidewalk, staring at the boutique window. Through the glass, he could see Nadia setting the boy down, kneeling to his level, speaking to him in that soft voice she used when she wanted him to feel safe. The boy nodded, reached up to touch her face. Daniel felt something crack open in his chest. 7 years. He had a son who did not know he existed. A son whose mother had raised him alone, while Daniel built his empire and planned his wedding to the wrong woman, and told himself the past was dead. The past was not dead. The past was 4 years old and had his eyes, and called another woman Mama, in a voice that sounded exactly like Daniel's had at that age. Daniel. Meredith stood by the car, her arms crossed, her face a mask of controlled fury. Are you going to explain what just happened, or should I start guessing? Daniel turned to look at her. This woman he had agreed to marry because it was expected, because their families approved, because she was safe and appropriate and would never make him feel things that scared him. She was everything his mother wanted for him. And she was not Nadia. She had never been Nadia. I need to tell you something. His voice sounded strange to his own ears, and you are going to hate me for it. 3 days. That is how long Daniel spent in a hotel room, staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment of the last 7 years and wondering how he had become someone who could miss something this important. Meredith had not taken the news well. You had a girlfriend, a pregnant girlfriend, and you just walked away. My mother told me she took money to leave, that she did not want the baby, that she chose a payout over me. And you believed that. He had not been able to answer her. Because the truth was worse than any lie. The truth was that he had believed it because it was easier, because questioning it would have meant fighting his mother, would have meant choosing Nadia over everything he had been raised to value. He had been a coward, and Nadia had paid the price. On the 3rd night, Daniel got in his car and drove to the boutique. It was after closing time, the street quiet, the interior lights dimmed. But he could see movement in the back, a figure at a workbench, bent over something intricate. He tried the door, locked. He knocked, waited, knocked again. The figure in the back straightened, turned toward the sound. Even through the darkened glass, he could see her hesitation, could see her weighing whether to pretend she had not heard him. She could have ignored him, could have let him stand there until he gave up and went away. Instead, she walked to the door, unlocked it, and stood there with her arms crossed, blocking the entrance like she expected him to try and push past her. The boutique is closed. I know. I told you to schedule an appointment. I knew you would cancel it. So you just show up, she laughed, but there was no humor in it. Some things never change. Everything has changed. Nadia studied him, her eyes searching his face for something. He did not know what. Finally, she stepped aside. You get 10 minutes, then you leave, and if you ever show up unannounced again, I will have you arrested. He followed her inside. The boutique looked different in the dim light, smaller, more intimate. The jewelry cases gleamed like promises waiting to be broken. Where is he? Daniel asked. With his babysitter, where he always is when I work late. His babysitter. A normal part of a normal life, a life Nadia had built without him. What is his name? Why do you want to know? Because he is my son. Nadia turned to face him, her expression unreadable. His name is Isaiah. He is 4.5. He loves dinosaurs and building blocks in the color green. He is allergic to strawberries. He has nightmares sometimes, and when he laughs it sounds exactly like. She stopped, swallowed. He is mine. That is all you need to know. He is mine too. No, the word came out sharp. He is mine. I carried him. I gave birth to him alone in a hospital room at 3 in the morning. I walked the floors with him when he was colicky. I taught him to walk and talk and tie his shoes. I built this business with him strapped to my chest because I could not afford childcare. You do not get to show up 7 years later and claim anything. You told me you were not pregnant. I told you what I needed to survive. The words hung in the air between them, heavy with meaning he did not fully understand yet. What does that mean? Nadia moved behind the counter, creating distance between them. It means I was 23 years old and terrified, and I made the mistake of telling your mother before I told you. Daniel felt the floor tilt beneath him. My mother. She showed up at my apartment with a check for $200,000, told me I had 2 choices, take the money and disappear, or watch her destroy my career before it even started. That is not, Daniel's voice trailed off. Because it was possible, more than possible, it was exactly the kind of thing Victoria Prescott would do. She told me you already knew, Nadia continued, that you had agreed I was not suitable, that the money was your idea, a payoff so you would not have to deal with the inconvenience of a baby with the wrong kind of woman. That is a lie. I never. Then I called you. Do you remember that? I called you 17 times in 2 days, and you never picked up. Daniel remembered. He remembered his mother saying Nadia was harassing him, that she was desperate and manipulative, that the kindest thing was a clean break. He remembered blocking her number, because it was easier than hearing her voice. He remembered telling himself it was for the best. I did not know. The words felt pathetically inadequate. I swear to God, I did not know what she did to you. You did not ask. Nadia's voice cracked, the first sign of real emotion breaking through her careful control. You believed whatever story was convenient, and you walked away. You chose to believe I was the kind of person who would take money to disappear, because it was easier than fighting for me. I was wrong. Yes, you were. I want to make it right. You cannot. She turned away from him, her shoulders rising and falling with careful breaths. Some things do not get fixed, Daniel. Some things just stay broken. He wanted to touch her, to close the distance between them and pull her into his arms like he used to when she was upset, but he had lost that right 7 years ago. Tell me everything, he said instead. Tell me what happened after my mother came to see you. I need to understand. Nadia was quiet for a long moment, her back still turned to him. When she finally spoke, her voice was flat, reciting facts like they had happened to someone else. I did not take the money. I moved to Baltimore, stayed with my aunt, had Isaiah alone, worked 3 jobs for 2 years while I figured out how to make jewelry with a baby strapped to me. Jesus. I came back here 2 years ago, opened this place, built it into what it is now. She turned to face him. I did not just survive, Daniel. I won. I built something your mother could never take away from me, something that has nothing to do with you or your family or your money. I can see that. So when you ask me to tell you everything, when you say you want to make it right, her voice hardened. You need to understand something. I do not need you. Isaiah does not need you. We have a life, a good life. And I will not let you walk back into it and tear it apart because you suddenly feel guilty. I am not trying to tear anything apart. Then what are you trying to do? He did not have an answer. He stood in the middle of her boutique, surrounded by beautiful things she had created, evidence of a life she had built without him. And he realized he had absolutely no idea what he was asking for. He ran a hand through his hair. I need to know him. I need to know my son. Nadia studied him. Whatever she saw made her shoulders drop slightly, some of the fight draining out of her. I will think about it. Daniel felt something loosen in his chest. Thank you. Do not thank me yet. I have not decided anything. And even if I do let you meet him, it does not mean forgiveness. It does not mean we go back to what we were. That is dead. You killed it when you chose your mother over me. I understand. Do you? Because I am not sure you understand what you took from me. I lost everything. My home, my plans, my future. I had to rebuild myself from nothing while you went on with your life like I never existed. Daniel's throat tightened. I am sorry. The words felt useless, but he said them anyway. I am so sorry. Sorry does not fix anything. I know. But it is something. She moved toward the door, opened it, stood aside. Leave your number with my assistant tomorrow. If I decide to let you see Isaiah, I will reach out. He walked past her, stopped in the doorway. Nadia. She looked up at him, her eyes reflecting the streetlights, beautiful and wounded and so much stronger than the girl he had left behind. I loved you, he said quietly. I know that does not matter now, but I need you to know I loved you. I just was not brave enough to fight for you. Something flickered across her face, gone too fast to name. Goodbye, Daniel. He walked into the night. And behind him, the door closed with a soft click that sounded like finality. Daniel did not go back to the hotel. He went to his mother's house instead. The Prescott estate sat on 12 acres of manicured grounds, every inch designed to project wealth and power. Daniel had grown up in this house, had learned from birth that family name and reputation mattered more than anything else. He had learned all the wrong lessons. Victoria was in her study when he arrived, reviewing documents by lamplight. She looked up as he entered, her expression carefully pleasant. Darling, what a nice surprise. I was not expecting you. I saw Nadia. The pleasantness did not waver, but something shifted behind her eyes. That is unfortunate. I had hoped she had moved on. She has a son. Many women do. He is mine. Silence. Victoria set down her pen, folded her hands on the desk. She told you that. I have eyes, Mother. He looks exactly like me. He looks exactly like the photos in your hallway of me at that age. Appearances can be. Stop. The word came out harder than Daniel had ever used with her. Do not insult me by lying. Not now. Not about this. I know what you did. I know about the money you offered her. I know you told her I wanted her gone. I know you blocked her calls, made it impossible for her to reach me. Victoria's expression shifted, from pleasant to calculating. I protected you. That girl was going to trap you into a life you did not want. She loved me. Daniel's voice broke on the words. We loved each other. We wanted that baby. She was using you. His mother's voice was cold, patient, like she was explaining something simple to a slow child, a girl from nowhere, with nothing, who saw an opportunity to marry into money. I protected you from making a catastrophic mistake. By paying her off, by making her believe I had abandoned her. I did what was necessary. She raised my son without me, for 4 years, while I lived my life without knowing he existed. And you have had a wonderful life. Victoria stood, moved around the desk. Daniel, darling, you have to understand, that woman was completely wrong for you. No family, no connections, no understanding of our world. The child would have been a disaster, mixed race, raised by someone with no resources, constantly pulling you into situations beneath your station. Daniel stared at her, like he had never seen her before. Because he had not really. He had seen the mother who bought him expensive toys and sent him to the best schools and told him he was destined for greatness. He had never seen the woman underneath, the one who would destroy innocent lives to maintain her vision of the family legacy. You are a monster. I am a mother who loves her son. One day, when you have children of your own, you will understand that sometimes love requires difficult choices. No. Daniel backed away from her. Love does not require cruelty. It does not require destroying people who get in your way. What you did was not love, it was control. And where has your precious Nadia ended up? Victoria's tone sharpened. If she is so special, so worthy of your devotion, surely she has accomplished something with her life. She owns the most successful custom jewelry boutique in the city, Odora Designs. Celebrities fly in from around the world to commission her work. She rebuilt her career from nothing. After you tried to destroy her, she survived you, mother, and she became extraordinary despite everything you did to break her. For the first time, Victoria's composure slipped. Odora Designs is hers. You know the name. I know she has turned down 3 purchase offers from major jewelry corporations in the past year, Victoria said slowly. I know her pieces sell for 6 figures. I had no idea the owner was your little design student. Her name is Ashlyn Bruce, and she is not mine. She was never mine to own. She was my partner, my equal, the woman I was supposed to marry and build a life with, until you took that away from both of us. I gave you the life you have now. His mother's voice rose. Your position at the firm, your reputation, your engagement to Meredith, a woman who comes from a family that will strengthen our business connections. I broke off my engagement to Meredith. Silence. Victoria's face went very still. You did what? I ended it 3 days ago, and I am going to find a way to make this right with Nadia, even if it costs me everything. If you pursue this, his mother's voice turned dangerous. If you try to dredge up the past, you will lose your position at the firm. I will make sure you are cut off from the family fortune. You will have nothing. I already have nothing. Daniel moved toward the door. Because I chose your money and your approval over the woman I loved, I let you convince me she had betrayed me, when all she had done was love me. I abandoned her when she needed me most. Everything I have now is built on that betrayal, and it means less than nothing. Jeffrey. His mother's voice stopped him at the threshold. You are making a mistake. She will never forgive you. Women like her, they hold grudges. They will make you pay forever. Daniel looked back at her. Good, I should pay for the rest of my life. I should pay for what I let happen to her. He walked out of the house, and he did not look back. The weeks that followed were the hardest of Daniel's life. He moved out of the apartment his mother owned, found a small place downtown that he paid for with his own salary. He began the slow process of separating his finances from the family firm. His mother made good on her threat, froze his access to the trust fund, had him removed from the board of directors. He lost everything, and somehow he felt freer than he had in years. Nadia did not contact him. He respected the silence, did not go to the boutique, did not send messages, did not try to force his way into her life. Instead, he waited. And he thought about the kind of man he wanted to become. A month passed, then two. He saw Nadia once, across a crowded farmer's market. Isaiah was with her, holding her hand, chattering about something that made her laugh. Daniel stayed on his side of the market, watched them until they disappeared into the crowd. His phone buzzed that night. "I saw you today. Thank you for not approaching us." His heart hammered as he typed a response. "I wanted to. It took everything I had not to." Three dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. "I know, that is why I am texting. Maybe we can talk, not yet, but eventually." Eventually came 3 weeks later. They met at a coffee shop, neutral territory, no Isaiah. Nadia arrived first. She was sitting in a corner booth when Daniel walked in, her hands wrapped around a cup of tea she was not drinking. She looked tired but determined. Daniel sat across from her, ordered nothing, waited. "I have been in therapy for 6 years," she said without preamble, "working through what happened, what you did, what your mother did. For a long time I could not even separate the two of you in my head. You were just one entity that had broken me." "I understand. Let me finish." She took a breath. "Isaiah knows he has a father who was not ready to be a dad. That is what I have told him. I did not want to poison him against you, but I could not pretend you did not exist. He asks about you sometimes, wonders if you think about him." Daniel's throat closed. "I would have if I had known. But you did not know, and I have to figure out what to do with that." She finally looked at him directly. "I do not forgive you. I want to be clear about that. What you did, choosing to believe your mother over everything we had, not even trying to reach me, that broke something in me that I am still putting back together." "I know. But Isaiah deserves the chance to know his father. If you have actually changed, if you are actually willing to do the work. I am, whatever it takes. It is going to take a lot." Her voice hardened. "You do not get to be Disney dad, showing up with expensive presents and fun outings. You get supervised visits, 1 hour a week, at my apartment, where I can watch how you interact with him. You show up on time, every time. You do not make promises you cannot keep. And the first time you disappoint him, the first time, you are done." "I understand." "Do you?" She leaned forward. "Because he is not a redemption project, Daniel. He is a child, a real living person who will remember every single time you let him down. This is not about earning my forgiveness or proving you have changed. This is about whether you can be a consistent, reliable presence in his life." "I want to be." "Wanting is not enough. You have to do." Daniel nodded. "When can I start?" End of part 1. The first visit was scheduled for Saturday at 2 in the afternoon. Daniel spent the days leading up to it in a state of terrified anticipation. He researched child development, age-appropriate activities, what 4-year-olds liked, what scared them, how to talk to them without being condescending. He felt ridiculous, preparing for 1 hour with a child like it was a business presentation. But this mattered more than any deal he had ever negotiated. This was his son. On Saturday morning he woke before dawn, unable to sleep. He showered, shaved, changed his clothes 3 times. At 1:30, he got in his car and drove to Nadia's apartment building. It was in a nice neighborhood, secure, well-maintained, the kind of place a successful business owner would live. The doorman checked his ID against a list before letting him up. Even that small detail felt significant. Nadia had pre-cleared his visit, had trusted him enough to put his name on a list. He rode the elevator to the 6th floor, walked down a hallway with soft lighting and tasteful art on the walls. Stopped outside apartment 612. took a breath, knocked. Footsteps, a pause, then the door swung open. Nadia stood there in jeans and a sweater, her expression guarded but not hostile. "You are on time." "I said I would be." She studied him for a moment, then stepped aside. "He is nervous, so be patient, and do not overwhelm him." Daniel nodded, stepped inside. The apartment was warm, lived in, photographs on the walls, toys scattered in organized chaos near the couch, a small pair of shoes by the door. A home. A real home that Nadia had built for herself and their son. "Isaiah." Nadia called the name softly. A moment later, the boy appeared from a doorway down the hall. He looked smaller than Daniel remembered, more fragile, his dark eyes wide and cautious as he took in the stranger standing in his living room. "Isaiah, this is Daniel." Nadia moved to stand beside her son, her hand resting protectively on his shoulder. "He is going to spend some time with us today. Is that okay?" Isaiah looked up at his mother, then back at Daniel. "Okay." His voice was barely above a whisper. Daniel crouched down, getting to the boy's level, keeping a respectful distance. "Hi, Isaiah. Your mom told me you like dinosaurs." A flicker of interest crossed the boy's face. "T-Rex is my favorite." "That was my favorite too, when I was your age. I had this book with all the different types, and I used to memorize their names and how big they were and what they ate." Isaiah's eyes widened. "Really? Really? I know lots of names." The boy's voice gained confidence. "Want to hear?" Daniel smiled, something loosening in his chest. "I would love to." The hour passed like water through open fingers. Isaiah started cautious, staying close to his mother, watching Daniel with those dark eyes that missed nothing. But children are resilient and curious, and Isaiah had spent 4 years wondering about the father he had never met. So when Daniel asked about dinosaurs, the boy answered, quietly at first, then with growing enthusiasm. Brachiosaurus was really tall, like taller than buildings, and they only ate plants. They were not scary at all. "What about velociraptors?" Isaiah wrinkled his nose. "The movie ones are wrong. Real ones were small, like chickens. My teacher showed us pictures." "Your teacher sounds smart." "She is. She knows everything about dinosaurs, and also about volcanoes. Did you know volcanoes can sleep for 100 years and then wake up?" "I did not know that." Isaiah nodded solemnly. "It is true. You have to be careful." Daniel glanced at Nadia. She sat in a chair across the room, her laptop open in front of her, pretending to work, but he could see her watching, monitoring every interaction. She did not trust him yet. He did not blame her. "Do you want to see my blocks?" Isaiah asked suddenly. "I am building a castle, but it keeps falling down." "I would love to see your castle." Isaiah grabbed his hand, small fingers wrapping around Daniel's with easy trust that made his chest ache. "Come on, it is in my room." Daniel looked at Nadia. "Is that okay?" She hesitated, then nodded. "Leave the door open." Isaiah led him down the hallway, into a small bedroom painted pale blue, dinosaur posters on the walls, a bed shaped like a race car, and in the corner a pile of wooden blocks surrounding a half-collapsed structure. "See," Isaiah pointed, "it keeps falling." Daniel knelt beside him. "I think I see the problem. Your foundation is too narrow. If we make the bottom wider, the top will not wobble so much." "Can you show me?" "Sure." They worked together, Daniel handing blocks to Isaiah, letting the boy place them himself, offering suggestions without taking over. It was such a small thing, building a block castle with a 4-year-old. But it felt like the most important thing Daniel had ever done. "Look," Isaiah's voice rose with excitement, "it is not falling." "You did it." "We did it," the boy corrected, "together." Daniel's throat tightened. Yeah, we did it together. Isaiah looked up at him, those dark eyes searching his face. Are you going to come back? The question hung in the air, simple and devastating. Daniel thought about all the promises his mother had made him over the years, all the times she had said she loved him while manipulating every aspect of his life. He thought about how easy it was to say words, and how hard it was to mean them. If your mom says it is okay, yes, I would like to come back. Every Saturday. Every Saturday. Isaiah considered this. Okay, his voice was solemn, but you have to promise. I promise. Pinky promise. Isaiah held up his small hand, his pinky extended. Daniel looked at that tiny finger, understood the weight of what was being asked. He linked his pinky with his son's. Pinky promise. The hour ended too soon. Isaiah, Nadia appeared in the doorway, time to say goodbye. Already, the boy's disappointment was clear, but we just started the castle. Daniel has other things to do, but he will come back next week, right, Daniel? Daniel stood, his knees protesting after an hour on the floor. Same time next Saturday. Isaiah looked at the castle, then at Daniel, then at his mother. Can he stay for dinner? Baby. It is okay, Daniel said quickly. I should go, but I will see you next week, and we can work on the castle some more. Isaiah's face fell, but he nodded. Okay. Daniel followed Nadia back to the living room. At the door he paused. Thank you for letting me see him. He is a good kid, she said quietly. He deserves to know his father. I will not let him down. You better not. There was no threat in her voice, just weariness, the exhaustion of someone who had been let down too many times to expect anything different. Daniel wanted to promise her, wanted to swear that he would be different, that he had changed, that she could trust him. But words meant nothing. Only time would prove what kind of man he had become. I will see you next Saturday. Goodbye, Daniel. He stepped into the hallway, heard the door close behind him, and stood there for a long moment, letting the reality sink in. He had a son. A beautiful, curious, trusting son who liked dinosaurs and building blocks and asked for pinky promises. A son he had missed 4 years with. A son he would spend the rest of his life trying to deserve. Daniel walked to the elevator, rode down to the lobby, nodded to the doorman. And then he sat in his car in the parking garage and cried. For everything he had lost. For everything he had almost missed. For the chance he had been given that he did not deserve. He cried until there was nothing left. And then he drove home and started planning how to be worthy of that pinky promise. The weeks turned into months. Daniel showed up every Saturday at exactly 2 o'clock, rain or shine, tired or sick, busy or free. He showed up. At first the visits were awkward, stilted, Isaiah testing him, Nadia watching from across the room, everyone waiting for him to fail. But Daniel did not fail. He learned Isaiah's favorite foods, grilled cheese with the crusts cut off, apple slices but not apple juice, chicken nuggets only from the place on 3rd Street because the other places made them wrong. He learned Isaiah's fears, thunderstorms, the dark, the monster that lived in the closet that Nadia had banished with a special monster spray that was really just water with lavender oil. He learned Isaiah's joys, building things, drawing dinosaurs, being read to at bedtime, the way his whole face lit up when he accomplished something difficult. He learned his son. And slowly, carefully, Isaiah learned to trust him. 3 months in, something shifted. They were at the park. Isaiah's first unsupervised outing with Daniel. Nadia had agreed to it reluctantly, had given Daniel a list of emergency contacts and instructions and warnings that lasted 15 minutes. But she had agreed. Isaiah was on the swings, pumping his legs, going higher and higher. "Push me," he called out. "I want to touch the sky." Daniel pushed him, gently at first, then harder when Isaiah demanded more. "Higher, higher. You are going to go over the top." "No, I am not. Push harder." Daniel laughed, pushed harder. Isaiah shrieked with joy, his small body arcing through the air, his face turned up toward the sun. "I am flying, I am flying." "You are flying. Watch me jump." "Wait, Isaiah, no." But the boy had already let go, launching himself off the swing at its highest point, soaring through the air for one terrifying moment before landing on his feet in the sand. Daniel's heart stopped. Isaiah turned to him, grinning, completely unharmed. Did you see how high I went?" "I saw." Daniel's voice came out strangled. "I was like a bird." "You were like a bird. Please never do that again." Isaiah laughed, ran back to the swings. "Again, push me again." Daniel stood there, his hands shaking, his heart pounding. This was fatherhood. This was loving someone so much that watching them jump off a swing made you feel like you might die. This was everything he had missed. Everything he would never take for granted again. 6 months in, it happened. They were sitting on the floor of Isaiah's room, working on an elaborate block structure that had grown over multiple visits, a castle that had become a city that had become an entire kingdom. Isaiah was explaining the rules of his imaginary world. The dragons were friendly. The knights were protectors. The princess was actually a scientist who invented things. "And Mama is the queen," Isaiah said matter-of-factly. "She rules everything." "She does rule everything. And you can be the king, if you want." Daniel's breath caught. Yeah, Isaiah placed another block carefully, because the queen needs someone to help her, and you come every Saturday, so you can be the king. Daniel did not trust his voice. Isaiah looked up at him. "Is that okay? Do you want to be the king?" "I would be honored to be the king." Isaiah smiled, that full sunshine smile that transformed his whole face. "Good," he turned back to the blocks. "Now we have to build the throne room. It needs to be really big because the queen is important." They built in silence for a few minutes. Then Isaiah spoke again, his voice casual, like he was commenting on the weather. "Dad, can you hand me the red block?" Daniel froze. "Dad." The word he had been waiting 6 months to hear. The word he had dreamed about and feared and longed for. Isaiah did not seem to notice his reaction, just held out his hand expectantly. "The red one for the roof." Daniel picked up the red block, his hand trembling. "Here you go." "Thanks, Dad." So casual, so natural, like it was the most obvious thing in the world. Daniel blinked hard, focused on the blocks, did not let himself cry in front of his son. Later, he would fall apart later. For now, he would just be here, in this moment, building a kingdom with his boy. "The red block looks good," he said, his voice only a little unsteady. "I know," Isaiah said confidently. "I am a good builder." "The best." Isaiah grinned. And they kept building. Nadia noticed the change. "He called you Dad," she said that evening, after Daniel had left and Isaiah was in bed. She was sitting on her couch, a glass of wine untouched on the table beside her, her phone pressed to her ear. Daniel was in his apartment, staring at the ceiling, still processing. "Yeah," he said. He just said it like it was nothing. "It is not nothing." "I know." Silence stretched between them. "How do you feel?" Nadia asked finally. "Terrified, grateful, like I do not deserve it." "You do not." "I know." "But," she paused, "he would not have said it if you had not earned it. He is careful like me. He does not give his trust easily." "I will not break it." You better not. The same words she always said, but softer now, less like a warning and more like a hope. Nadia. Yes. Thank you for giving me this chance, for letting me know him. I know I do not deserve it. I know I can never make up for the years I missed. But thank you. She was quiet for a long moment. You are welcome, she said finally. Good night, Daniel. Good night. The line went dead. Daniel lay in the dark, staring at the ceiling. Dad. His son had called him Dad. He pressed his hands over his face and let himself feel it. The joy and the grief and the overwhelming gratitude. He had so much work still to do, so much trust still to earn, so much time still to make up. But tonight, for the first time in 7 years, Daniel Prescott felt like he might be becoming the man he was supposed to be. The emergency came without warning. It was a Tuesday night, 2 in the morning. Daniel was asleep when his phone rang. He fumbled for it in the darkness, saw Nadia's name on the screen. His blood went cold. She never called, never, not unless something was wrong. Hello. Daniel. Her voice was stretched thin, high and tight with fear. I am at Children's Hospital. Isaiah had an allergic reaction. They have him stable, but I do not know why I called you. Daniel was already out of bed, already pulling on clothes. Which hospital? You do not have to. Nadia, which hospital? She gave him the address, her voice breaking on the words. I will be there in 15 minutes. He was there in 12. The pediatric waiting room was harsh under fluorescent lights. Daniel found Nadia in a corner, still in pajamas, a coat thrown over them, her face tear-streaked and exhausted. She was packing, her hands trembling, the old nervous energy she used to have before big presentations, magnified 1,000 times. What happened? She spun at the sound of his voice. For a moment she just stared at him, like she could not believe he was really there. Then she crumpled. I gave him peanut butter. Her voice broke. We were trying new foods. I did not know he was allergic. I did not know, and I almost killed him. This is not your fault. He could not breathe. His face swelled up and he could not breathe, and I had to call an ambulance. The paramedic said if I had waited 5 more minutes. She could not finish. Daniel pulled her into his arms. She fought it for a moment, her body rigid with resistance, 7 years of walls and anger and self-sufficiency. Then fear overwhelmed everything else. And she collapsed against him. I cannot lose him, she sobbed. He is all I have if I lose him too. You will not. Daniel held her tighter, his hand stroking her hair, her tears soaking through his shirt. Isaiah is strong, he is here, he is stable, you got him help in time. Around them, other families tried not to stare, recognizing a crisis that transcended normal boundaries. He is going to be okay, Daniel said, over and over, like a prayer, like a promise. He is going to be okay. They stood like that for a long time, until Nadia's sobs quieted, until her breathing steadied, until she pulled back, wiping her face, looking embarrassed by her own vulnerability. I am sorry, I should not have called. You did not need to. I am glad you did. She looked at him, really looked, her eyes red and swollen. Why? Because you should not go through this alone. Silence. Then a door opened. Miss Bruce. A doctor emerged from the ICU, young, tired, but smiling. Isaiah is awake. He is asking for you. Nadia moved toward the door, then paused, looked back at Daniel. Do you want to see him? Daniel's heart clenched. If you are okay with it. He has been asking about you, wondering when you would come read stories again. She held the door open. Come on. Isaiah looked small in the hospital bed. His face was slightly swollen, an IV in his arm, monitors beeping steadily beside him. But his eyes were bright when he saw his mother. "Mama." "Hi, baby." Nadia rushed to his side, took his hand carefully. "How are you feeling?" "Tired. The doctor said I get ice cream tomorrow because my throat is sore." "Whatever flavor you want." Isaiah's eyes moved past his mother, found Daniel in the doorway. "Dad, you came." Daniel felt his chest crack open. "Mama said you were busy." "I am never too busy for you." He moved closer, staying on the opposite side of the bed from Nadia, giving her space but making sure Isaiah could see him. "You gave your mama quite a scare." "I did not mean to. The peanut butter made me feel funny." "I know, buddy, but the doctors fixed you up. You were very brave." Isaiah's face grew serious, his small brow furrowing. "Mama was crying, I heard her." Daniel glanced at Nadia, saw the tears threatening again. "That is because she loves you so much," he said gently. "Sometimes when people we love are scared or hurt, it makes us cry." Isaiah considered this. "Do you love me too?" The question hung in the air. Simple and devastating. Daniel felt Nadia's eyes on him, felt the weight of the moment. "Yes," he said, his voice steady despite the storm in his chest. "I love you, very much." "Then why did you stop coming before?" Daniel's breath caught. He did not have an answer a 4-year-old would understand. Could not explain cowardice and manipulation and years of wrong choices to a child in a hospital bed. Nadia saved him. "Dad and I had some things to work out," she said softly, "but he is here now. That is what matters." Isaiah looked between them, his dark eyes too knowing for someone so young. "Okay," he said finally, "will you stay?" Daniel looked at Nadia. She nodded. "I will stay," he promised, "as long as you need me." Isaiah smiled, small and tired but real. "Good." He closed his eyes, his small hand still wrapped around his mother's fingers. Within minutes he was asleep. They stayed through the night, taking turns sitting with Isaiah when he woke confused, fetching water, adjusting blankets, watching monitors like they could will the numbers to stay stable. Around 4 in the morning, Nadia dozed off in the chair beside Isaiah's bed, her head tilted at an uncomfortable angle, her hand still holding her son's. Daniel watched her sleep. She looked younger with her guard down, more like the woman he had fallen in love with all those years ago, before everything went wrong. He wondered what their lives would have looked like if he had been braver, if he had fought for her instead of believing convenient lies, if he had been there for Isaiah's birth, his first steps, his first words. So many years lost. So much he could never get back. But he was here now. That had to count for something. Dawn came slowly. Gray light filtering through hospital windows, the sounds of the building waking up, carts in hallways, shift changes, coffee being brewed somewhere nearby. Isaiah was sleeping peacefully, the doctors pleased with his progress. They would keep him one more day for observation, but the danger had passed. Nadia stirred, blinked awake, looked around with the momentary confusion of someone who had forgotten where they were. Then it all came rushing back. "Is he okay?" "He is fine," Daniel said quietly, sleeping. "The nurse checked him about an hour ago. Everything looks good." Nadia rubbed her face, stretched her neck. "What time is it?" "Almost 6. She looked at Daniel, really looked, taking in his rumpled clothes, the dark circles under his eyes, the fact that he was still here. "You stayed all night." "Of course." "You did not have to." "Yes, I did." Something shifted in her expression. The walls she kept so carefully maintained developing another crack. "Thank you." "You do not have to thank me." She stood, moved toward the door. "I need coffee. Will you stay with him?" "I will be right here." She paused in the doorway, turned back. Daniel. Yes. I am glad you came. She disappeared before he could respond. Daniel sat in the quiet room, watching his son sleep, listening to the steady beep of monitors. I am glad you came. Such simple words, but they felt like a door opening. Just a crack, but enough to let some light through. They did not talk about it right away. Isaiah was released the next day. Nadia took him home. Daniel went back to his apartment. Life resumed its normal rhythm. Saturday visits, dinosaur conversations, block castles getting more elaborate every week. But something had changed. Nadia started texting him, not just logistics, not just reminders about pickup times and dietary restrictions. Real texts about her day, about Isaiah's latest obsession, about nothing in particular. It felt like friendship. It felt like possibility. 3 weeks after the hospital, she invited him to dinner. Not a date, she said quickly, just, Isaiah wants you to stay, and I thought maybe. I would love to. He brought wine. She made pasta. Isaiah chattered through the whole meal about his new favorite cartoon and the friend at school who could burp the alphabet. It felt domestic. It felt like family. After dinner, Daniel helped with dishes while Nadia put Isaiah to bed. He could hear her voice drifting down the hallway, reading a story, singing a lullaby, the soft murmur of good night. When she came back, she looked tired, but lighter somehow. He went down easy, she said. Being sick took a lot out of him. He is resilient. He is. She leaned against the counter beside him, close enough that their shoulders almost touched. I need to tell you something. Daniel's hands stilled on the dish he was drying. Okay. I have been offered a commission in Paris, a major one, 6 months of work, incredible opportunity. That is amazing. It would mean taking Isaiah out of school, away from everything familiar, away from. She trailed off. Away from me. Yes. Daniel set down the dish, turned to face her. What do you want to do? I do not know, she looked at him. That is why I wanted to ask what you thought. It was the first time she had asked his opinion about anything major. He understood the significance. I think, he chose his words carefully, that you have spent 5 years building a life and a career without anyone's help. If this is what you want, you should take it. Isaiah is young enough that the disruption will not hurt him long term. And you. I will still be here when you get back. Nadia studied his face. You would wait. I have been waiting 7 years. What is 6 more months? The words hung between them. Nadia stepped closer, close enough that he could see the gold flecks in her brown eyes, the faint scar above her left eyebrow from a childhood fall she had told him about years ago. I do not forgive you, she said quietly, not yet, maybe not ever fully, too much happened. I know. But I am starting to trust you again, she swallowed. That feels almost harder. Daniel did not move, did not breathe, afraid of spooking whatever fragile thing was building between them. I will wait, he said again, however long it takes. I am not going anywhere. She kissed him. It was brief, barely more than a brush of lips, tentative and questioning. But it cracked something open that had been sealed for 7 years. When she pulled back, her eyes were wet. I am still going to Paris. I know. And when I come back, we are going to figure out what this is, slowly, with a lot of therapy. Okay. And if you hurt me again, if you hurt him again, I will not. Daniel took her hands, held them gently. I am not the same person who walked away. I have spent the past year proving that. I will spend the rest of my life proving it if I have to. Nadia searched his face. Whatever she found there made her shoulders relax. Okay, she whispered, okay. She went to Paris. Daniel drove them to the airport, helped with the luggage, knelt down to say goodbye to Isaiah. "You are going to have so much fun," he said. "Paris has the best croissants in the world." "What is a croissant?" "It is like a fancy bread, shaped like a moon. You will love them." Isaiah wrapped his arms around Daniel's neck. "I will miss you, Dad." Daniel's throat tightened. "I will miss you too, buddy, but we will video call every night, and I will send you presents." "What kind of presents?" "Surprise presents, the best kind." Isaiah grinned, that sunshine smile. "Okay." Daniel stood, faced Nadia. She looked nervous, excited, terrified. All the things he was feeling too. "Take care of yourself," he said. "You too." He wanted to kiss her again, but there were too many people around, too much uncertainty still between them. So he just squeezed her hand. "I will be here when you get back." "I know." She gathered Isaiah, collected their bags, walked toward security. At the last moment she turned back, raised her hand in a small wave. Daniel waved back. And then they were gone. The 6 months were the longest of his life. Daniel wrote letters, actual paper letters, handwritten and mailed across an ocean. He told Nadia about his days, his job at the real estate firm where Victoria's connections could not reach him, the youth center where he volunteered on weekends, the therapy sessions that were slowly helping him understand how he had become someone capable of such cowardice. He told her about missing them, about how quiet his apartment felt, about how he had started cooking Isaiah's favorite foods just to feel closer to him. He video called every night. Isaiah would tell him about the park near their apartment, the pigeons that were not afraid of people, the pastries that melted on his tongue, the French words he was learning. "Papa means dad in French," he announced one evening. "My friend Henry calls his dad Papa. Do you want to call me Papa?" Isaiah considered this seriously. "No, I like Dad better. Papa sounds funny." Daniel laughed. "Dad it is then." He watched his son grow through a phone screen, saw him get taller, braver, more confident in this new world he was exploring. And he missed them with an ache that never went away. Nadia's calls were less frequent. She was busy, the commission was demanding, the work was consuming. But she called when she could, late at night her time, early morning his. They talked about nothing, about everything. About the past they were slowly learning to forgive. About the future they were cautiously starting to imagine. "I think about you," she said one night, her voice soft through the phone, "more than I expected to. I think about you all the time." "Is that healthy?" "Probably not, but I do not care." She laughed, that real laugh he remembered, the one that made everything else disappear. "I miss you." "I miss you too." Silence, comfortable now instead of awkward. 3 more months, she said. 3 more months. Then we figure this out. Then we figure this out. She came home on a Thursday. Daniel was at the airport 2 hours early, packing, checking the arrivals board every 30 seconds. When they finally emerged from customs, Isaiah saw him first. "Dad." The boy broke free from his mother's hand, sprinted across the terminal, launched himself at Daniel with complete trust that he would be caught. Daniel caught him, lifted him up, held him so tight he was probably crushing the poor kid. "You stayed," Isaiah said against his shoulder. "I told you I would." "Mama said you might not. She said people do not always keep promises." Daniel looked over Isaiah's head. Nadia stood a few feet away, thinner than when she left, tired from travel, but smiling. "Your mama is right," Daniel said carefully. "People do not always keep promises, but I am going to, every single one, even when it is hard, even when I mess up, I will always come back." Isaiah pulled back, studied his face with that too-old wisdom children sometimes had. "Okay," he said, apparently satisfied with the terms. "Can we get ice cream?" "Anything you want, buddy." Daniel set him down, turned to Nadia. She looked nervous, hopeful, afraid. All the things he felt too. Hi. Hi. How was the flight? Long. Isaiah slept. I could not. She stepped closer. I thought about what I would say when I saw you, planned this whole speech, and now I cannot remember any of it. That is okay, we have time. She reached out, touched his face, her fingers tracing his jaw like she was making sure he was real. I missed you, she whispered. I missed you too. Dad, Isaiah tugged at his hand. Ice cream, you promised. Nadia laughed, that real laugh. Some things never change. I hope some things do, Daniel said, looking at her. She met his eyes. They already have. They took it slow. That was the deal. That was what they had agreed. Slow meant family dinners twice a week. Slow meant Saturday visits expanding into Sunday mornings. Slow meant couples therapy where they unpacked 7 years of hurt in 50-minute sessions that left them both wrung out and raw. Slow meant learning each other again. Not who they had been, but who they had become. Daniel learned that Nadia still hated mornings, still sang off-key in the shower, still cried at commercials with dogs in them. But she was stronger now, harder in some ways, more certain of herself, less willing to compromise on things that mattered. He loved her more for it. She learned that Daniel had changed, really changed, not just apologizing for who he had been but actively becoming someone different. He volunteered at a youth center every weekend, mentoring kids who reminded him of himself, trying to help them avoid the mistakes he had made. He went to therapy every week, doing the hard work of understanding how he had let fear and family pressure turn him into someone capable of abandoning the woman he loved. He had cut off his mother completely, given up the fortune, the position, the safety net. And he seemed happier for it. Are you sure? Nadia asked one night. They were on her couch, Isaiah asleep down the hall, a movie playing that neither of them was watching. Sure about what? Giving up all that money, walking away from your family, it is a lot to lose. Daniel considered the question. I did not lose anything that mattered. I gained everything that does. Very smooth answer. I have been practicing. She laughed, leaned against him, her head fitting perfectly in the crook of his shoulder. They had not slept together yet, had not moved beyond kisses that left them both breathless and aching. The therapist said they needed to build emotional intimacy before physical, that rushing things could set them back. It was torture, but it was also working. Can I ask you something? Nadia said. Anything. Do you ever wonder what our lives would have looked like if things had been different? Daniel was quiet for a moment. Every day. Me too. Would you change it? She tilted her head to look at him. The parts where I was alone and scared and had to figure everything out without help, yes, absolutely. But I would not be who I am without those years, and Isaiah would not be who he is, and you would not be who you are. So no. Nadia sat up, turned to face him fully. I would not change anything, because everything that happened led us here, and here is where I want to be. Daniel felt something unlock in his chest. I love you. The words he had been holding back for months, the words he had been waiting for permission to say. Nadia's eyes went bright with tears. I love you too. She kissed him, deep and real and full of promise. When they finally pulled apart, she was crying, but smiling too. So what now? Daniel asked. Now we keep going, slow together. Together. It was enough. For now it was everything. A year passed. Then another. Isaiah started kindergarten, made friends, learned to read, grew out of his dinosaur phase and into an equally intense obsession with space. Nadia expanded Odora Designs, opened a second location, hired employees, started getting written up in magazines as one of the most influential jewelry designers of her generation. Daniel got promoted at the real estate firm, bought a small house, not with family money, with money he had earned, money that meant something. They moved in together on a rainy Sunday. Isaiah ran through the empty rooms, claiming the best bedroom for himself, his voice echoing off bare walls. "This one has a window seat. I can read here, and there is a tree outside. Maybe we can get a tree house." "Maybe," Nadia said, "if you keep your room clean." "I will keep it clean, I promise." "Pinky promise." Isaiah held out his hand. Nadia linked her pinky with his. "Pinky promise." Daniel watched them, these two people who had become his whole world. He thought about his mother, alone in her mansion, cut off from her only son, surrounded by money and power and absolutely no one who loved her. He thought about the man he used to be, the coward who had believed convenient lies, who had walked away when things got hard. That man felt like a stranger now, someone he had once been but would never be again. "Hey." Nadia appeared beside him, her hand finding his. "What are you thinking about?" "How lucky I am." "That is very cheesy." "I know." She smiled, leaned against him. "I like cheesy." "Then you are going to love what I have planned." He reached into his pocket, pulled out a small velvet box. Nadia went very still. "Daniel." "I know we said slow, and I am not trying to rush anything. You can say no, you can say not yet, you can say whatever you need to say." He opened the box. Inside was a ring, simple, elegant. A single diamond in a setting that looked like two paths winding together and meeting in the middle. He had made it himself, spent 4 months in a community jewelry class, burned his fingers twice, started over from scratch 3 times. It was not perfect, but it was his. "I want you to know," he said quietly, "that I am here for as long as you will have me, no matter what you decide about this." "Daniel." "I do not need an answer right now. I just need you to know that I choose you, every day, for the rest of my life. I choose this family." Nadia was crying, tears streaming down her face. But she was smiling too. "You made this." "It took me 4 months. The instructor said I was hopeless." She laughed through her tears. "It is crooked." "I know. The diamond is too small." "I know. It is the most beautiful thing anyone has ever given me." She took the ring from the box, slid it onto her finger, held up her hand to watch it catch the light. "Yes." Daniel's heart stopped. "Yes. Yes, I will marry you. Yes, I choose you too. Yes to all of it." She threw her arms around him. He caught her, held her, breathed her in. 7 years of wrong turns and broken promises and second chances. And somehow, against all odds, they had found their way back to each other. "Mom, Dad." Isaiah's voice echoed from down the hall. "Come see my room. There is a bird outside the window." Nadia pulled back, wiped her eyes, smiled at Daniel. "Ready?" "For what?" "For everything." He took her hand. "I have been ready for a long time." They walked down the hallway together. Toward their son, toward their future, toward the life they were building one day at a time. It was not a fairy tale. There were still hard days ahead, still old wounds that ached, still therapy sessions and difficult conversations and moments when the past threatened to pull them under. But they faced it together. And that made all the difference. The wedding was small. Just family, just friends, just the people who had been there through the hardest parts. They held it at the youth center where Daniel volunteered, in the garden that the kids had planted last spring, surrounded by flowers that were slightly overgrown and vegetables that were almost ready to harvest. It was imperfect. It was perfect. Isaiah was the ring bearer, walking down the aisle with the kind of serious concentration he brought to everything he cared about. "Do not drop them," he whispered to himself. "Do not drop them." He did not drop them. Nadia wore a simple white dress, no designer label, no family heirloom, just something that made her feel beautiful. Daniel wore a suit he had bought off the rack, his hands shaking as he waited at the end of the aisle. When she appeared, he forgot how to breathe. 7 years ago, he had let her go. Today, he was promising to never make that mistake again. The ceremony was short, the vows were simple. "I promise to choose you," Daniel said, "every day, even when it is hard, especially when it is hard." "I promise to let you," Nadia replied, "even when I am scared, especially when I am scared." They exchanged rings, his still crooked, hers catching the light. Isaiah bounced on his heels. "Can I call you both Mom and Dad now?" "You always could, buddy." "I know, but now it is official." "Now it is official." The officiant smiled. "By the power vested in me, I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss the bride." Daniel kissed her. The small crowd cheered. Isaiah made gagging noises. "Gross." Nadia laughed against Daniel's lips. "You will understand when you are older." "I hope not, kissing is weird." Daniel pulled back, looked at his wife, his son, his life. This was everything he had almost thrown away. This was everything he had spent 7 years learning to deserve. "Thank you," he whispered. "For what?" "For giving me another chance, for letting me prove I could be better, for believing in me when I did not deserve it." Nadia touched his face. "You earned it every day, every choice. You earned this." They walked back down the aisle together, Isaiah between them, each of them holding one of his hands. A family. Imperfect and scarred and stronger for it. At the reception, Daniel's phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. He opened it. "I saw the announcement. Congratulations. I hope you know what you have given up." His mother. Still trying to make him doubt. Still trying to remind him of what he had lost. Daniel looked at Nadia, dancing with Isaiah, both of them laughing at some private joke. He looked at the friends who had come to celebrate with them, the kids from the youth center who had helped with decorations, the life he had built with his own 2 hands. He deleted the message, blacked the number, and went to join his family on the dance floor. Some stories end with happily ever after. This one ends with something better. Honestly, ever after. Daniel and Nadia knew exactly what they had overcome, knew exactly how close they had come to losing everything, knew exactly how much work it had taken to get here. That knowledge made every moment sweeter, made every ordinary day feel like a gift. They still went to therapy, still had hard conversations, still worked on the wounds that would never fully heal. But they did it together. And together they raised a boy who knew that love meant showing up, even when it was hard, especially when it was hard. Isaiah grew up watching his parents choose each other, every day, through arguments and misunderstandings and all the messy parts of real life. He learned that forgiveness was not a single moment, but a continuous practice. He learned that redemption was not a destination, but a journey. He learned that family was not about blood or obligation, but about the people who showed up when it mattered. And years later, when he was old enough to understand the full story, he would look at his parents and see 2 people who had been broken and had chosen to heal together. That was the real fairy tale. Not perfect love, but persistent love. Love that endured. Love that chose. Love that earned. Every single day. For the rest of their lives. The end. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe so you never miss a story that reminds you of the truth we all need to remember. It is never too late to become the person you were meant to be. And love is always worth the fight.